See, our kids, we need to invest in them. They are counting on us. Can you say amen to that? We've got hungry people in the North Dallas Metroplex, in Frisco and the adjacent cities, hungry. You may not know what that feels like. That is when you want something to eat and you're not deciding between Papados and Texas land and cattle. That's not what you're dealing with. You hungry and there is no food in sight. And sometimes you're driving a Mercedes and you're hungry. Sometimes you're walking and you're hungry. Hunger knows it has no preference. It's just hungry, and Jesus said, you feed them. We want to continue to bring our debt down, and you've been so faithful, and that's happening and positioning us all the better so we can be prepared to expand. I don't want to get down the road a couple years and wish we had united back in 2013 in preparation for our future. So we're planning for that now, and that's going to require your faithfulness. Can you say amen to that? These are the three components that make up our kingdom campaign. One of the things, I say good things, that's come out of the show LA Preachers is that hopefully you are seeing what you don't want in your leadership. You see, my goal is not to drive a Bentley. And I'm not waiting one day to roll like Jay-Z. My goal is to feed hungry people. My goal is to enhance the worship experience of our children. My goal is to prepare for expansion as God trusts us with more souls. We got to be ready for that, church. That's what I want it known far and wide. That's my agenda. That's what I want out of this thing we call ministry. I just want to do God's will. That's all I want to do. And I need your help to do it. I cannot do it alone. And anything that is of God, one can't do by themselves. It's not possible. God is a God of team. We must work together. It's called an ecclesia, a deliberate gathering for a reason. We're gathered on purpose. We're not a flock who just happen to fly together. We are a deliberate gathering of believers who are about our Father's business. And it's going to be our responsibility to make a decision. And I will tell you, as much as we get together in a group, how many know it's a one-on-one decision? My decision and can't make your decision for you, and your decision can't make my decision for me. It's got to be, who are you on the inside, and what moves you in the midnight hour? And if it's God's will, then you will be compelled to do what thus saith the Lord. It's just that simple. Can you say amen? Can you say amen? I want you to turn as fast as you can to 1 Chronicles 11:15. 1 Chronicles 11:15. My question today is, how do you personally respond? You can bring that volume right back. When those that God has given you as proven godly leadership, how do you respond when those who God has given you to labor in prayer and preaching and teaching, how do you respond when your godly leaders call you to action? What happens on the inside of you? Do you feel compelled to move and be a part, or are you one who is comfortable assuming somebody else will get it done? Touch somebody and say, do you move or do you sit back? All right, touch the other person and say, do you move or do you sit back? I want you to know my agenda. I want you to know who I am. And I've stood before you almost 6 years now. You know me, you know my wife. She said, well, Pastor, you live in a big house. I had that big house 4 years before the launching of Life-Changing Faith. Life-Changing Faith was launched in my house. It wasn't the other way around. Touch somebody and say, I understand better today. How do you respond when those that God has given you as proven godly leadership calls you to action? What do you do? 1 Chronicles 11, starting at 15. Now 3 of the 30 chief men. Now there was an army that David had. And how many know David was the only king of Israel that never lost a battle? He had an army, and there were 30 of them. 30 of them were chief. They were leaders of the army. And 3 of the 30 leaders, they went down to the rock to David, into the cave of Adullam, while the army of the Philistines was camping in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold, while the garrison of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. So we see David here, a proven godly leader. You may be seated. Proven godly leader. He's held up with his army in the valley of Rephaim, which is a few miles outside of Bethlehem. And why was David not in Bethlehem? Because at this particular time in history, the Philistines had taken over and they currently occupied the city of God. In verse 17, David had a craving. He said, oh, that someone would give me a drink of water from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate. David, again, a proven godly leader. They'd seen him in battle. They knew his heart. They knew he loved God. Even God said, he's a man after my own heart. Not a perfect man. Perfection is not the prerequisite to being godly. And he let it be known in the hearing of those he led, and those who heard him, they were compelled into action. Verse 18, so the 3 broke through the camp of the Philistines. Not the whole army of David, but the 3 broke through the camp of the Philistines and drew water from the well of Bethlehem, which was by the gate. And they took the water and brought it to David. The 3 that heard David express a need did not assume that someone else was going to do it. They did not grumble and say, why can't he just drink the water that's right there beside him in the lamb's skin? No, they trusted David. He had proven himself to be a godly leader. And so they were compelled into action. And therefore these 3 guys, they decided to take the risk. They decided to draw well from the water. They decided to bring that cooling water back to David. And verse 19 said, and he said, be it far from me. Now this is David. He finally has the water that he had been craving. The need had been filled. And he said, be it far from me, my God, that I should do this. Shall I drink the blood of these men who went at the risk of their lives? For at the risk of their lives, they brought this water back to me. Therefore, I would not drink it. How many know this? The degree of sacrifice that makes your offering holy. Somebody could have said, hey, David, here's a little sip of water out of my pouch. Take this instead. No, I want some water from the gate well in Bethlehem. And some men took it upon themselves to go and get it done. And when David saw the degree of sacrifice that they had to go through in order to bring that offering, he realized just how holy this water was. And he said to himself, I'm not worthy because of what they went through. I'm not worthy to drink this water. So I'm going to pour it out as a libation, as a drink offering unto God. The problem we have in the church today, which causes your giving to be reluctant, is we have too many pastors drinking water that belongs to God. Far too many not realizing what breakthrough through enemy lines you have to go through in order to bring a tithe and an offering. And instead of building God's kingdom, they're busy building their own kingdom. Drinking water that's not their own. I understand their reluctance. But that's not who we are here in this church. And that's not how this boy rolls now or ever. If that matters to you, give the Lord a shout of praise in this place. So God has given us an assignment. We not just posted up here a couple times a week, feeling good and going home. How many know there's more to church than posted up here a couple times a week, having a grand time and going home to your own when somebody else is hungry, when somebody else's child needs to hear about the Lord, when we need to be in preparation for those that are coming? We got work to do. Don't get comfortable. I believe that's why we have not been permitted. There's an ordinance in town that, and it is right, and it is as it should be. But we won't be able to put modules out here like we thought we would because of a boundary that's been in place for years. We are in what's called the downtown district. You say, well, Pastor, First Baptist got some modules down the town. It's okay because they're outside of the downtown district. Listen, I'm glad we can't put modules out there because God is saying, don't get comfortable up in here. Prepare to move. Don't get comfortable. I've given you a mandate. I've given you a vision. Now be faithful to it. Enhance the space you have for your children, but get ready for the better. Be faithful. We got to make church better for our kids. We got to feed hungry people in our community. Maybe even right beside you or on your row. Right here, right now. And we got to prepare for future growth. If you're with me on that, clap your hands for Jesus.